The Dallas Mavericks, after being blessed with 2 decades of amazing basketball from Dirk Nowitzki, including a championship run in 2011, managed to land themselves yet another generational talent from overseas by the name of Luka Doncic. By his second year, Luka was already a top 10 player in the league and a bona fide superstar, and he was being hyped up as potentially the next MVP going into just his 3rd season at the age of 21. But in spite of Luka's greatness, the overall roster has been relatively disappointing. While there are some solid pieces here or there, overall when this team ends up in the postseason, it always ends up being a Luka carry job, and because Luka is damn good and apparently hates the Clippers, he actually has given them a real shot in both of their difficult first round matchups. But this style of ball is not sustainable at a championship level, and while Luka will continue to make strides in his game and likely end up putting himself in an all-time great conversation, he cannot get this team to a championship all on his own. The big piece that was supposed to be Luka's support is Kristaps Porzingis, who the Mavs traded some future first for back in 2019. Porzingis, in his time with the Knicks, was given the nickname the Unicorn and was an all-star by his 3rd season. However, a bad injury derailed that and resulted in him being traded to the Mavs, where they promptly gave him a max extension. While Porzingis has not lived up to his potential since then, he was relatively solid in the regular seasons both times and good in the first round versus the Clippers in 2020. However, his performance in 2021 was abysmal and really showed the massive holes in his game. And while there is some hope that that was just a flash in the pan and he can return to, at the very least, good production, I personally think moving on from him is the best way to go. However, that is easier said than done. With his injury problems and a pretty goddamn awful contract, getting him off of the books is damn near impossible. In fact, the only way to get him off of the roster would be trading him for another bad, but at least shorter, contract. So this move will not be pretty, not the typical headline trade that I like to start a 2K series off with, but one that has to be done nonetheless. There are 2 candidates for this trade. Well, actually there's a 3rd one, but we'll get into that. The first option is trading for John Wall, who last year with the Rockets was really inefficient, averaging 20 and 7. He's not as good as he once was, not nearly the defender, not the slasher he was, and he still insists on taking a high volume of jump shots despite not being good at them. The reason I'd trade for Wall is after he takes his egregious $44 million player option, his contract will be over for the 2023 offseason. Meanwhile, Porzingis' contract expires for the 2024 offseason. So after the move, we'd only have to deal with Wall being overpaid for 2 years while we'd have to wait 3 years with Kristaps. The thing about that, though, is that Houston is well aware of this, and as a result, I imagine they'd want some assets in return, on top of the fact that they have Christian Wood, and that's 2 offensive bigs with not great defense. So on their end, they'd probably rather let Wall expire than just swap those contracts. So we have to give them a young player, pretty much Josh Green, because that's the only real option, and a 1st round pick. This move also does clear $10 million off of the books for the 2023 offseason for them, but that's obviously not better than clearing 44, which is what they would do if they just stuck what they had. So that's option 1. Option 2 is Kevin Love on the Cavaliers. Same sort of deal. His contract expires in 2023. He's not that great, but at least he's on the books for less time. The thing is, though, their front court is even more crowded with Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, and their recent addition Lauri Markkanen. We'd likely have to give them more assets to take on a player like Porzingis. As of now, I lean towards the Rockets trade because the deal makes more sense for Houston, while we also have to give up less, and I like the idea of a secondary playmaker next to Luka, even if his jump shot is going to be a problem. The 3rd option is one that I don't love, but it might seem like the bullet we have to bite. The deal would be sending multiple 1st round picks to OKC, with us sending them Porzingis, and we'd get back like Derek Favors and Ty Jerome. OKC has a ton of cap space and they can eat Porzingis' contract, and of course we know Sam Presti loves his firsts, and I'd be trading really long-term 1st round picks like 2027 level because of the Stephian rule and how the Porzingis trade previous holds that back. The Thunder, though, have essentially become the bad contract dump for the entire league, so I could see them being willing to do this. Now, on the surface, I get why that might seem like the appealing move. We'd lose more assets, but we'd get our cap space immediately cleared. However, let me explain the negatives. Doing this would open us to the 2022 free agency class, where there's names like James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Bradley Beal, and Zach LaVine. However, the 2023 class is, I think, overall a little bit better, but more importantly, a whole lot deeper with a whole lot more realistic options, because we aren't getting Kyrie or Harden, and even Beal and Zach LaVine are stretch touches. Beal is more than likely looking for a supermax extension sign and trade, and Zach LaVine leaving Chicago makes little sense given all of the moves that they just did to keep him around. But Nikola Jokic, Chris Middleton, Nikola Vucevic, D'Angelo Russell, Jeremy Grant, Malcolm Brogdon, Christian Wood, and lesser options like Bogdan Bogdanovic, Karis LeVert, Miles Turner, Jordan Poole, and Malik Beasley, they're all a good bit more obtainable. And the thing is, while we would have one max slot in 2022, we will have two of them and then some in 2023, meaning that we could sign two or maybe even three of these guys, as most of them will not be going for exactly max money. Would you rather have Bradley Beal or Malcolm Brogdon, Christian Wood, and Jordan Poole, or D'Angelo Russell, Nikola Vucevic, and Bogdan Bogdanovic? And on top of that, we'd be able to hold on to our long-term draft capital for moves to improve the roster outside of just this trade for the future. So while the OKC trade might seem like the best move, when you consider the long-term implications, I'd personally rather have two max slots rather than one, and I'd rather sign multiple good players rather than one good one, while holding on to further long-term assets for moves on top of this one. Not to mention the very real possibility of striking out on a much smaller free agency pool. So I'm going to be going with the John Wall deal. I like his fit on this roster more because it'll allow me to do more off-ball stuff with Luka, and we'll talk about that more in episode 2. And I think that playing the long game is the right move for us rather than that OKC deal. So I am sending Kristaps Porzingis, a future first-round pick in 2026, and Josh Green to the Rockets for John Wall. It's not the sexiest move in the world, I know, but I'm confident that this trade will be the first step in building this team into a contender. Now, if you enjoyed the first episode, if you want to see more, I have good news for you. Episode 2 is available right now, just not on this channel. It's on my 2K channel. Last year with my Sixer series, I posted episode 1 on this channel as a way to promote the series on another channel, and that went extremely well, and because of the support there, I was able to finish that series. So if you like scripted, realistic MyNBA content, go check out episode 2 and subscribe to my 2K channel. Of course, all the links for that will be in the description, the pinned comment, and the card above. I also plan on doing a Derrick Rose 2011 Create a Legend series there, as well as a My Team No Money Spent series. 2K22 seems like it could be the best 2K in years, so this is the year that I'm really diving into creating content for it for real, and I'm hoping that can be a real avenue for me. So go subscribe to that channel and maybe drop a like on this video so that it does well in the algorithm. But regardless, it's much appreciated. Go subscribe there. That is the end of the video. Goodbye.